right, so this is the first episode of the We Make Supplements podcast. We have Sean Marszalek, a mentor, a friend, and the CEO of SDC Nutrition here with me today.
How's it? Feels good, man. I like it. Yeah, I like what you did with the backdrop here.
So let's talk about SDC. What's new this year in 2019?
2019, one of the biggest focus we have this year is really expanding our capacity, specifically on our capsule production. So we've been working pretty hard through the last quarter of 2018 to cross-train some people from powders and get them cross-trained in the capsule production. We've actually ordered a new piece of encapsulation equipment that just arrived this week. Excited to get that thing going.
Is that the giant crate in the back?
It's in one of those. We also added some automation, some automated cap turners for the powder line. But it's one of the crates that you see back there. Just hired a new technician as well, encapsulation technician that started in December. So really we're focused on expanding out our capacity so we can kind of better service our customers.
Sweet. So there's all these people launching these podcasts, right? I've seen fitness celebrities do it. I see, a couple guys that have been out there for a couple of years doing it. Why are we launching this podcast?
Well, you and I started talking about it and talking about what do we do differently here at SDC Nutrition, right? And we do a lot of things differently. Yeah, a lot, everything, right? And we started talking about that, and we said, well, why aren't we telling people what we do differently? And so, I said, well, what's the best way to tell people? And you told me, you said, look, we just talk about it and get it on audio and video and let people know what we're doing here. So that's what started it.
Yeah, I think when someone meets us, that's the biggest piece, right? When I met you guys, some 7 years ago, you were answering questions that no one else would, right? When I was launching my own brand and my own product line, you guys would explain to me what the ingredients were that no one else would break down. I didn't even understand what excipients were when you put them in products. It's like basic stuff like that really makes SDC different. So I just think people need to see it and experience it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Happy to do it too.
All right, so I just got back from LA. I was at the LA Fit Expo this past week. It was amazing, right? It's a show that in its infancy, some brands were supporting, but now you see manufacturers walking the show. You see distributors walking the show. And
how do you think? Was it busier than the previous years? About the same?
It was
growing?
packed. Yeah. It was packed. There were lines. There's brands out there with like a good 100, 200 people in line. I mean, it's definitely not Olympia or Arnold yet, but it's a very niche show for that demographic and that community. But I met a couple startup brands, and they knew who I was. And these guys asked me this one question over and over again. They were like, "How do we know if someone on my team is an ace? This is someone that we want to keep. This is someone that's good." And I guess there's some turnover happening over there right now.
Okay.
But this is a question I think you might have a good answer for it because you have a pretty large team out here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, the one thing that I look for and usually can see with people, quote unquote aces on the team is they don't just bring me a problem, right? They bring me a problem and they also say, here's the one or two solutions that I think are best to solve this problem. So they're solving the problem. They're just kind of getting some confirmation from me, letting us talk about it if there's a couple solutions. But somebody that brings a problem and brings the solutions with them to talk about is somebody that I think usually stands out for me.
Okay. So I mentioned that, I have my own product line, right? And I use SCC as a manufacturer.
Yep.
But, I'd like to say that I was a pretty educated client of yours. After having been with you for a few years, I understood some supply chain things. I understood how to put in a PO properly. We had SOPs. I feel like there's some brands out there that don't hear about SOPs. But, in this past year of meeting some of the clients and people at SDC, I wonder, what are some things that surprise you when a client comes over and, it's someone that already has a pre-existing business and is working with other manufacturers? What are things that you find?
Yeah, I mean, so there's all kinds of different things that are unique when somebody comes over from another manufacturer. I think the one that surprises me most is the communication. We're constantly communicating with the customer, letting them know what's going on. It's not always good news, right? Things happen in business and in manufacturing. But being able to communicate with customers is one thing that I notice that shocks them, right? Because they're like, wow, you guys get back to us right away. There's an email shot over. Within 2 hours, you're getting me an answer, or at least saying, hey, I don't have the answer, but I'll get it to you tomorrow. I also think transparency in the pricing. Look, I mean, when it comes to running a business, you have to make a margin and you have to make money to stay in business. So I think a lot of manufacturers try to come across as, they're not making any money or, whatever the case may be. I think what we do differently here is we sit down with our customers. We kind of walk them through what our COGS are. Hey, here's what the cost of this product is to make. Here's what I need to make, kind of margin I have to make at SDC, or I'm not even going to be in business next year to make your product, and you're going to have to find another manufacturer, right? So being able to walk through and getting customers to understand what it costs to make a product, what their COGS should be, and then helping them, figure out from there what to sell to the wholesalers or the retailers is something that we can, do really well here, and we like to try to do with our customers.
I think you were definitely the first person that I met in the industry that told me the price of my products.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I was like, you're only making how many points on this? Like on our end, we were making 50, 60, 70 points. And I'm trying to beat you down for a quarter. And you're like, yo, listen, man, like, this is all I'm making. I'm like, oh, okay. You're only making 75 cents on this one like capsule product. I'm like, there's no point of even going into this then.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point, right? I mean, people think that, especially if you're selling direct to consumer, right? The margins are nice for brands that are selling direct to consumer. They have their, margins that they need to make when they're selling to distributors and stuff. Manufacturers, we obviously have less marketing costs that go into it, so that's a factor in the margin difference. But yeah, we're working on a very specific margin range, and as long as I stay in that range, I can stay in business and service our customers the following year. And so I have no problem sharing that with our customers.
All right, so here's another thing that really surprised me. So I come here, right, and I'm getting an understanding of the true reason why COGS are COGS. And, I never really experienced this on the client side where, the price of protein changes year over year. I remember there was this giant hike in protein at one point, and we were shocked. Like, you want to raise our prices by $1? Like, there's just no way we could do this. Granted, our margins were great, but we were selfish as a client. But how are all these things going on with like China's and like the trade embargoes and all that? How's it affecting manufacturers? How's it affecting clients? How do you think it affects the end consumer?
Yeah, great question. I mean, there's definitely an impact with the U.S. and China relations. As a lot of people in this industry know, the amino acids and a lot of those types of products are predominantly manufactured in China. So there aren't options of U.S. manufacturers for some of these materials. So we are bringing in those materials that are specific. And we did get notice in the fall that they were, there was a list of ingredients that were on the tariff list, and they increased the cost of those materials by 10%, just throwing on the tariff. So I think in January, we were expecting another 25% increase on those specific materials. But I do believe the U.S. and China kind of came to a 90-day truce where they were going to continue to negotiate, keep it at 10%, not increase it another 25%. And so now we're all kind of just waiting patiently to see what happens within that 90 days to see how those tariffs affect. But look, I mean, if you have a product, say an amino acid product, that's 90% of the product, there are amino acids in it, and there's a 10% increase on those raw materials, they're getting passed along to the, importer of those raw materials. They're getting passed along to manufacturers. And ultimately, they need to be passed along to the brand owners and then the consumers. That being said, when you're looking at a price increase, maybe to one of our customers, it might be 40 cents on a unit of something, right? Just using that as an arbitrary number. Ultimately, they're looking at a price increase to the consumer of maybe 80 cents if they're, looking at 50% margin. So, I mean, on a product that a consumer is paying $39 for, maybe now they're paying $39.80. As long as that's managed and communicated between us, the manufacturer, and the brand owners, we can, work together to get that increase passed along to the consumer. And again, with fairly small impact.
So when's the right time to tell a client like there's going to be a price increase, or, understanding that they might leave, right?
Yeah.
So other manufacturers might lie to them. They're not telling them that there's a price change. Well, what's your advice on that whole situation, or what's your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, the sooner the better, right? As soon as you know that there's going to be increases, at least start having those conversations with our customer. So, I mean, typically, sometimes we don't get notice. Prices on a very specific raw material go up overnight. For the most part, on commodities like protein and different amino acids and things like that, or even with the tariffs, there's some notice. And usually there's you can see about a quarter out. So in Q4, if there's going to be price increases coming in Q1, the sooner you can let our customers know, that those price increases are coming, they could start, doing the things they need to do to kind of pass that along or figure out how much they're going to absorb and pass along to either their distributor, wholesaler, or end consumer.
Okay, so no one wants to talk about pricing, so let's switch the topic. All right, so I got a fun topic. All right, so I remember when we first approached you, you helped me come out with the protein, some new flavors, some stuff I didn't even know the market was going to change. But you've always kind of had some insight on what's next. So it's 2019. It's January, end of the month. Are there any products that you think clients should be reaching out to us and saying, hey, I need to launch this product this year. It's going to be a new product addition to our line.
Yeah.
Any suggestions? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, the three biggest things that we're seeing right now are the rise of collagen proteins. That's something that, it's incredible how many people are asking for it, not only from the brand side, but even from the consumer side, looking for collagen proteins and all the benefits that go along with that. I also think, whether you believe in diets for whatever reason, whether it's for weight loss or whether it's just to kind of try to clean up your eating habits for a little while, the keto diet is definitely hot and trending right now. We're doing a lot of keto products. So that's something that I see probably for the foreseeable future, the next few years, that's going to continue to trend. And then one that, there's a lot of talk in the industry about, and I think is something that people need to really start seriously considering is the full spectrum hemp oil. Some people call it, the CBD, but, there's full spectrum hemp oil, which is basically all the aspects of the plant, which is multiple cannabinoids, as well as, I believe, over 50 some terpenes as well. And we get the full benefit of all those ingredients in a raw material. That's one of the things that I see continuously being in conversations with people. I see the trends out there as far as what people are advertising and marketing. And so those are the three. If you wanted to talk about any one of those specifically, happy to. But those are the top three that I'm seeing right now.
Okay, and those are powders for the first two, and the last one could be a mix of different things, whether it's capsules, gel caps.
Yeah, so for the collagen proteins, typically a powder base. I mean, some people put collagen in certain capsule products, but not to the volume that you need that you would get in, say, a shake. And then the keto products, yeah, I mean, you're seeing other, things outside of protein and meal replacement shakes. Different people are using the BHBs and, pre-workouts and things like that. But what we're seeing a lot is the meal replacement shakes, which is a powder. On the full spectrum hemp oil, powders. So people, we're seeing a lot more of people requesting, how does this stuff taste in BCAAs? How does it taste in, say, a recovery protein? We've done a lot of product development here and have made this stuff taste really good. That being said, we're also doing a lot of R&D product development with capsules. In those capsules, we might be mixing it with other botanicals. Just an example might be, putting it with valerian root or melatonin, and then you've got like a sleep support product in a capsule form. And then there's also soft gels that are kind of, pre-manufactured with some of the hemp oil suppliers, and those can be bottled in different milligrams as well.
So speaking about sampling that whole process, what's like the ideal way to work with a manufacturer for sampling, right? I've experienced it in every which way, shape, or form, right? I've had to fly to the manufacturer to actually do it on site. I've done the 12 shipments back and forth. I've done the focus groups. I mean, what's the right way for someone to do it with SDC, or just in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does vary, right, on the scope of work and the size of the project. If somebody's looking for just a chocolate or vanilla protein, for example, I think that can pretty easily be done with starting the product development process after quotes are approved. We work in the lab, send them samples, kind of get some feedback. Usually, I mean, there's, hundreds of different chocolates and vanilla flavors that somebody could say, I want it a little bit more sweet, I want it a little bit more dark chocolate. But usually after one round of feedback, if they're not spot on what the customer wants, we can usually tweak them once and get them out samples via the mail or UPS and get that process closed pretty quickly. If you're talking about a project where there's 7, 8, 10 different products being in product development at one time, maybe some different materials are being used, some botanicals and things that are going to have a lot of feedback. A lot of times there, we might send out a round, get some feedback on some of it, figure out how close we are to the customer's expectations. And then what we typically like to do is invite the potential customer in, bring them in, to Pittsburgh, have them stay overnight, visit our facility, come in the next day, take a tour, meet everybody that's here. And then we can really do live sampling while they're here. We bring them into the conference room while our people are back in the lab doing the product development, and we're bringing up round after round. And we've had success sometimes within a 2 or 3 hour session where we're getting 12, 13, 14 products approved on site over a few hours that might have taken weeks or even a month or two, sending back and forth through the mail.
Sweet. So I think that wraps it up for today. I know there's tons of other things that we could shed some light on with transparency. There's other topics that we're going to be getting into in other episodes.
Yeah.
I know you got some really special guests lined up. They're going to be flying in from all across the country, a couple of international guys. Let's just, keep everyone home, staying tuned, and they'll be able to follow this journey and everything that we're doing on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I mean, all our handles are We Make Supplements, or they're going to be SDC Nutrition. And, we look forward to seeing everyone's comments.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate your time today. And we're looking forward to seeing this podcast and We Make Supplements continue to evolve and really bring some value to the industry.